Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Tonight is for Collin. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. We had everything before us. We had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven. We were all going direct the other way. In short, the period was so far like the present period that some of its noisiest authorities insisted on its being received, for good or for evil, in the superlative degree of comparison only.
Maverick News isn't just a news outlet, it's a community of truth seekers. Your donation at freedomreporters.com fuels our mission to report the stories that mainstream media won't touch. Thank you, Maverick family.
Tonight is for Collin. Collin is one of our younger Mavericks. His grandma tells me he is turning 10 years old. And so tonight, the whole broadcast is dedicated to Collin because he watches regularly. Now, I'm not sure if he watches because he wants to or listens. Maybe it's because his grandma listens just about every single night. But I'm told he's something of a maverick and a fan. And so I'm humbled by that. And tonight we have a special gift for Collin at the very end of the broadcast. This entire broadcast is dedicated to Collin tonight. Why did I start the way that I started? Because, Collin, I grew up, I think, in what may well have been the very, very, very best of times. And I wish you were growing up in a different time because, in many ways, I think these are the absolute worst of times. And yet, in that opening passage from A Tale of Two Cities, from Charles Dickens, you can see that we've been in this position before. And even now, the worst of times, in many respects, are still the best of times. They're your times. And when I was young, when I was 10 years old, that would take us all the way back to 1975. Oh, I'm old. It was the best of times, but it was also the worst of times because we had a lot of bad things going on in 1975 too. And a lot of things were worse than they are today, and other things were better. It seemed like things just made more sense at the time. But today, I don't know, things have been sort of turned upside down. Doesn't mean that they aren't the best of times, because they are. And I'm going to show you tonight that things are, in fact, the best of times. But I think part of the problem is that some people want to take the best of things from us. And I think some of those people who are trying to take the best of things from us are people who are telling us that they're here to help, or that they're here to save us. I'm going to dig into that, and I hope in a meaningful way. And I'm just freewheeling it tonight. I'm going to talk to you, Collin, directly as a single person, because it seems contradictory, but as a journalist, I learned a long time ago that in order to speak to everyone, the most effective way to reach people is to speak to one person. How can that be? How can you speak to one person and speak to everyone? Because when I'm speaking to you, other people are tuning into. But I think that this discussion I'm having with you will resonate with everyone. And maybe because I'm speaking to you one-on-one, one individual to another individual, people will be able to relate to what is being said here better, because it takes it down to an individual level, a human level. And that's vital. Humanize the story. That's what I was always taught to do. And so tonight, just by talking to you, I hope that we're able to bring a little more humanity to our reality as we communicate through this internet matrix of an existence, or whatever this digitized world is that we're communicating through here tonight. Why did I want to do this? Because I remember how good I had it, and I want you to have that. I want to pass that on to you tonight. I want to share with you things that maybe you can take forward into the future and share years from now. Because what's going on right now in our world is so consequential and so transformative that people will look back on this time, I think, and see it as something of a milestone. It is a period of transition, of disruption. These periods of time are always the most disruptive and always filled with the most conflict. You know, we went through, you know, in my lifetime, a great period of peace and prosperity, because we were moving through the Industrial Revolution and into a digitized world. So I've lived through that, but now we're going into a completely new period. Some people call it the Fourth Industrial Revolution. What it is it's artificial intelligence and digital technology, transformative technologies that many of us simply don't have the ability to grasp or understand, at least not at the moment. My grandfather grew up without television. My dad grew up with radio and then lived in the period when television became a thing, and now it's commonplace, and he's still alive. He's still with us, and I'm going to his house tomorrow because he is celebrating his birthday along with my son. So just like you turning 10, they're celebrating birthdays too. But man, I look back at how far human beings have come just in my lifetime, and I can relate to things not so very long ago, really, that seem so far off. Tonight we have, look, this is something important for you. And I hope that you choose to embrace this. Because I think this is something that all human beings, especially tonight, people from Canada and the United States, can be proud of. We have 4 astronauts on their way to the moon. One of them, Jeremy Hansen, is a Canadian. He's from my hometown, but he's a Canadian. And that is ultra cool. And yet, I've seen, Collin, over the last few years, especially since the pandemic, and even just before, on social media, influencers chasing clicks saying, we never went to the moon. It never happened. It's impossible. Couldn't possibly be. Some of these influencers built large audiences just on that story alone. And today, they continue to influence people with massive audiences. Joe Rogan's one of them. How many broadcasts or podcasts did he do talking about how, oh, come on, that's all a hoax? I've seen him do stand-up comedy routines where he mocks, jokes about people going to the moon in my lifetime, as though it didn't happen. I took offense to it, and I've called it out many times on this program because I think that that is terrible. I said at the time, I say it again, they're trying to take our heritage away, our shared heritage for all humanity. And especially for the United States, and especially for Canada, and especially for other countries around the world, and people from all of the free world. They want to take that from us. And yet these same people, a lot of them, are the ones sitting there saying, your government is trying to take your culture away from you. They're hammering, they're trying to rewrite your history and take away your heritage. And then in the same breath, or in the next breath, I've heard them pivot and say, but we never went to the moon. And then be highly critical of other aspects of our government or our military or this or that. And yeah, we've made many mistakes, but I think there's a more sinister reason for a lot of that. They want to take that away from us. They've been trying to take it away from you. And these 4 astronauts have proven them all wrong. Except that I see people online even now mocking it as though it's not happening when it is. We've seen it happened. The rocket launched, human beings were there, they saw the thing go off into space. You can choose not to believe that, but that's a choice. Doesn't necessarily make it true one way or the other, but I suppose, and we're going to get into this tonight a little bit, I said the other night that you are what you believe. If you really believe that we never went to the moon, then we never went to the moon because that's what you believe. And if you believe that, then that's your reality. It doesn't make it true, but it's true for you. I'm not saying you, Collin, but people. If you choose to believe that, then it didn't happen. You've been robbed, in my opinion, because I believe we did go. So I believe that you've been robbed of something that's valuable to you, something you can be proud of, not for yourself, but for everyone, to be part of that in some way. Because, in my world, a world of individualism, a world of freedom, everybody contributes in their own small way, whether they realize it or not, because we all contribute to our society just by doing what we do, going to work every day, cleaning up our house, keeping our yard looking nice, walking our dog, being nice to the animals. In one way or another, all those things come together to contribute to our society, and that helps people go to the moon. Why is that? Because it keeps our society together, and if we didn't have that, these guys couldn't go to the moon. So yes, Collin, even you contributed to the 4 astronauts on their way to the moon tonight. Everybody did. Everybody that's here today has contributed to that, and everybody that ever came before us. Every human being. That's what got us here. The good and the bad. I don't want them to take that away from you. And I'm so grateful to them for everybody that made this moment in history possible. And yet we take so much of it for granted. There's mission control right there. Along for the ride. They'll arrive at the moon real soon. They're not going to land this time, but we are going back. And we're going to prove the naysayers wrong again when human beings walk on the moon. Hopefully it goes smoothly, but it's dangerous. It's not an easy thing to do. Best of times. I started with Charles Dickens and that passage from A Tale of Two Cities because Dickens is there describing the contradictory and extreme nature of, at the time, which was a specific historical period, which was the years leading up to and during the French Revolution. That goes all the way back to 1775 to 1793, focusing on the revolution itself and the reign of terror, worst of times. And yet, those words still ring true today, don't they? He uses this series of paradoxes, Collin, to convey some pretty key ideas that, again, still hold true right now in this year, 2026. Every positive has its dark shadow, yin and yang. Best of times, worst of times. There's wisdom and there's foolishness. There's belief and skepticism. And I will argue later, truth, which equates to reality. There's light, there's darkness. There's hope, and there's despair. There's heaven, and yeah, there's hell. Tonight, our thumbnail for the broadcast has a picture of Donald Trump with lightning bolts, and he's angry, and he's... And he's issued a warning, and this is the headline, 48 hours to hell, because he has issued a 48-hour deadline for Iran. Another deadline. It seems every time he issues a deadline, it either gets extended or canceled or something happens, and then he pivots and changes and shifts over there, but I worry about the president. And yeah, some people say we should pray for him because something's wrong. 48-hour deadline. Clock is ticking. One of these times, I fear something really bad might happen, as bad as it is right now. And tonight over in Iran, Collin, they're searching for this American pilot, this F-15 pilot, who ejected one of 2 pilots aboard that plane the other day, yesterday, who ejected safely after being shot down over Iranian airspace, which the president and the Secretary of, well, he calls himself the Secretary of War, said had been completely secured and they had complete air dominance, which is supposed to mean that there's no danger of anybody being shot down because all the air defenses have been taken out, but that's not true. Worst of times. Lies. I'll tell you, if the Iranians capture the pilot, we have a much more serious problem on our hands. I'm praying that the U.S. is successful with their search and rescue operation, both for, first and foremost, the safety and well-being of the pilot, but also because if they don't, rescue him. If the Iranians get him, we have a hostage crisis. And I'm not sure Donald Trump will take that. Because there's something not right. We've been here before. Even, in my lifetime. Reminds me of 1960. Capture of somebody you've probably never heard of, Collin. His name was Francis Gary Powers. During the Cold War, he was flying a United States U-2 spy plane above the Soviet Union, Russia. The United States CIA operated high-altitude U-2 reconnaissance flights over the Soviet Union at that time to photograph military installations because, of course, we didn't have satellites like we have today. They took pictures of missile sites, other strategic targets, useful during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Because the United States needed reliable intelligence on Soviet capabilities at the time. Powers, a civilian pilot employed by the CIA with prior U.S. Air Force experience, of course, was one of the most experienced U-2 pilots. And then, in May of 1960, he took off from a base in Pakistan in a U-2 aircraft. He was on a planned route, long overflight across the Soviet Union. He got shot down. They're supposed to fly so high that they couldn't get shot down. That was the whole point of the spy plane program. Fly really, really high altitude, around 70,000 feet. But Soviets fired multiple S-75 surface-to-air missiles, and they got him. And they recovered a bunch of the plane, which was, classified stuff. They had the incriminating evidence. And the United States at the time lied, tried to say it didn't happen. In any event, Powers was interrogated, put on public trial by the Soviets, convicted of espionage in they called it a show trial. Depends on your perspective whether it's a real trial or a show trial. Show trial, certainly, because it was high profile. Sentenced to 10 years. Served about 21 months in prison, and then was exchanged. Prisoner exchange took place for a Soviet spy. He made it home to the U.S., faced some criticism for not destroying the plane, because, of course, everybody's always looking for somebody to point the finger at and blame, right? And others said that he should have committed suicide because no good deed goes unpunished. But man, that was a crisis in itself. But this is even, I think, more serious. If they get the F-15 pilot, if the Iranians get a hold of the F-15 pilot, Trump's in trouble. Trump's in trouble now. And I'm sorry that you're going through this period of time, because it's really, really dangerous. But hang in there. Somehow we'll make it through. Somehow. It was 1975 was when I was 10 years old. The before times, they were better times, but they were also worse. I don't like being around cigarette smoke. When I was a kid, everybody smoked. It was like it didn't matter where you went. People were smoking their faces off. Used to go to donut shops. This is, in the earliest days of, donut shops, I think, in Canada, at least in my mind. Country Style and Tim Hortons, I remember them facing off, and there's still some Country Style donut outlets out there. But back in those days, you'd go into a donut shop and you could cut the smoke with a knife. It was gross. You'd order a donut and it would taste like cigarettes, even as a kid. And I'm surprised I'm still alive. Having somehow I managed to not get asphyxiated. But you don't have to deal with that today. And I hope you never choose to start smoking because it's very addictive. And yet here we are today. And somebody who says that they love America is trying to get people addicted to nicotine. Tucker Carlson. What a great guy. He's so swell. It's good for you, he says. No, it's not. Don't. Don't do it, man. Because then he hooks you. And you know what? Then you're not going to have any freedom. Well, you're not going to have that freedom, are you? Because you kind of lose your choice. It's an addiction. Don't have a choice. I don't think Tucker Carlson worries that much about our freedom. Not really. I don't think he cares. My opinion. Your grandma told me about your birthday, and she said, I worry about him when he gets to be a teenager. I'm so worried, and I get it, man, because the world is full of choices, which is great. But your grandma's worried that maybe you might make a few mistakes. You will. I did. Still do. Always will. But you do your best. You're going to turn left when you should have turned right. You're going to pick wrong. You're going to invest in things when you get money and lose it all. You're going to gamble. You're going to do dumb things. Think of all the dumb things I did when I was a kid. Sometimes it's a miracle I'm still alive. The experiments I used to do with electronics and electricity that my parents never knew about, my mad lab days. It's a wonder that we still had a house. Anyway, nothing ever really terribly bad ever happened, but man, I sure did wipe out on my bike quite often. I don't know if you're into that kind of stuff, but you know, we used to make ramps and jump our bikes and stuff like that. Movies are a big thing. I think they still are, kind of, aren't they? You still go to the movies once in a while? Hope so. TV, that was a big thing. Commercials. I was like, you know how old I am? I remember Future Floor Wax. I'm so old, I said to myself about 2 weeks ago, because I was looking for a way to fix the problem with a bathroom floor. I said, I'm going to have to go get some Future Floor Wax. So off I go. The old guy. I'm so old my bones creak as loud as the planks in the HMS Bounty. You can look that one up. Or maybe if you want to get Canadian, the Blue Nose. Here's some old commercials on TV. I found a Future Floor commercial for you, Collin.
If you have a job to give to the disadvantaged, the veteran, the ex-offender, call the National Alliance of Businessmen. Help America work.
Music and Burt Bacharach in the park, Sunday night at 11:30.
My son, the karate expert, is kneeling on a sheet of solid acrylic. It's beautifully transparent. And it's tough. And this is Future. The acrylic floor finish. It's tough, too. Tougher than wax. Future's also transparent. So it gives my floor a beautiful shine that stays beautiful. Mm-hmm. Future. Tougher than wax. Tougher than he is.
Yeah!
I'm Dr. Jamie Richards. There's 3 things that you need to know that will...
Okay, hang on. That's a new commercial. Doesn't matter. I know that guy, actually. But, yeah, Future Floor, you can't even get it anymore. What's going on out there? The world's falling apart. I don't know why they don't make it anymore. I couldn't find anything like it either, so. Worst of times, no more Future Floor Wax. And Tang, I've talked about Tang. I think you can still get Tang if you really search hard. That's basically sugar water, orange flavored, pretending to be orange juice. There are other versions of it out there now. Anyway, I recommend that you get real orange juice. Read the label, not orange drink. It'll be better for you. They were great times. But, you know, went along, and I grew up in such great times that I think we led a very sheltered existence, still insulated by the oceans from the world's wars my entire life, pretty much. Always the threat, though, of nuclear war, which we took very seriously back then. Intercontinental ballistic missiles. Very real threat. But, you know, we lived in an unprecedented time of peace, even though there were still wars being waged around the world. The one thing that I felt like I could always count on was that our leaders, our prime minister, the president of the United States, that even if they were Democrat or Republican, conservative, liberal, whatever, that they were always doing what they thought was best for us and for our country. And that they were working and doing their best to keep us safe. At least as a kid, I always believed that to be true. And I think it was. And then something changed along the way. I mean, I'll get back into that, but you really have to go all the way back to 1949, Collin, to understand what kept us safe. And it's the very thing that some of those people today who say they're trying to save our countries want to tear down. And I've been critical of it from time to time too, but I never wanted to destroy it. NATO. It was on this day, 1949, exactly 77 years ago today, when the North Atlantic Treaty Organization was formed, when the treaty itself was signed in Washington, D.C. And the treaty consisted of 14 short articles. The most famous, of course, is Article 5. States that an armed attack against one member shall be considered an attack against them all. It mattered. This was after World War II. 4 years after World War II ended. Europe was already breaking apart again. The struggle between, well, communism at the time and what was viewed as the free world, or the liberal democracies, as they're characterized. Not big L, liberal party, liberal democracies like classical liberalism. Fascism, of course, sort of pushed off to the side because we had defeated Germany. The Soviet Union, though, had installed communist governments across Eastern Europe, Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, etc., etc. And the 1948 Berlin blockade showed Stalin was willing to use force to get what he wanted. So Western Europe was economically devastated. It was weak militarily. And the U.S. had already been providing massive amounts of economic aid through the Marshall Plan, but there was no military shield there. And a lot of Europeans feared a Soviet invasion or communist takeovers in France and Italy, where strong communist parties existed. And so NATO was the military counterpart to the Marshall Plan. And it created a clear line that the West would treat any Soviet aggression as an attack on the entire alliance. Now, Article 5 said that an attack on one would be an attack on all. It has only ever been used or activated once, and that was after the 9/11 attack. And that's when NATO allies came to the defense, the collective defense of the United States of America. NATO, the organization that Donald Trump says takes advantage of the U.S. and abuses the U.S. and doesn't do its share. And I hear that echoed among even some of my American friends who just don't know their history and forget that even Canada sent soldiers to Afghanistan, some of them paying the ultimate price. Sacrifice. They say freedom isn't free. It certainly hasn't been. A lot of people paid for your freedom, Collin, with their blood. What is freedom anyway? I ask people that all the time, and I rarely get any kind of even coherent answer. It's a word. It just has some positive connotation to it for most people, but they don't really know what it means. It can mean many things, and it means different things to different people. It means a lot to me. It always has, ever since I was a kid. It really means having choice, self-determination, being able to be who you are, choosing you, knowing who you are, having the freedom to make those mistakes. But freedom comes with responsibility, and I've had to learn over time that it doesn't mean you just get to do anything you want, because other people have rights too, and in order to have true freedom for everyone, then you have to have some guardrails in place too. So there are rules. I've found that people who are working out there right now to undermine our country, people who are saying, I'm here to save Canada, or I'm saving the United States, save America, save Canada. A lot of those people they're not really working to save freedom at all. In fact, what they're really doing is undermining our institutions. They look at those guardrails on the one side and they say, ha ha, your government, that's overreach. And then if they take the guardrails down, they say, aha, that's the government being irresponsible. Sometimes it's just because they want power, and sometimes they want to get elected so that they can run things, so they can run the show. In other cases, it's because they're misguided, they don't know, they follow what other people say. It's a complicated thing that's going on out there right now. Who's really on our side? I don't know. See, because like I said, all through my life, I always believed the President of the United States would always do, rightly or wrongly, maybe make mistakes, but always do what he thought would be best for the country and would try to keep us safe. Now it's so weird. I don't know. This president, something's gone wrong. So much of what he is doing doesn't seem to help the United States. So much of it seems to hurt the United States. Certainly, it's dividing things. He's tearing everything down. He's attacking NATO. He's setting up scenarios where he can point a finger of blame at NATO allies by trying to draw them into a war that he started, creating this huge mess. And I'm standing back saying, what the hell is going on? And even the people around him, there's something not right, because I see that he's now fired through Mr. Hegseth, the Secretary of War. War? It's the Department of Defense to defend. No, he's the Secretary of War. And they've now fired probably half of the generals and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Another one got it in the neck yesterday. And then now today you're seeing pushback from a lot of former military leaders and generals coming out in support of the general who got fired yesterday, got forced out by Pete Hegseth, who, I'm just going to be blunt, not a nice guy. White supremacist? Check. Racist bigot? Check. Abuser of women? Check. Mean son of a bitch? Check. Kinda dumb? Oh, double check. Don't mean to scare you. I'm just trying to be honest with you, and you're 10 years old, and you're going to grow up quick, and I'm just sharing real truth with you here tonight. Truth that honestly needs to be said, because I think a lot of this stuff is not being shared, not really in an honest and truthful way. And I'm tired of that. Too many swords, not enough pens. I became a journalist because I knew that the pen is mightier than the sword. Journalism is one of the cornerstones of democracy. It's foundational to freedom because it is not just about giving people a voice. It's about pursuing truth. Truth is reality. Real truth. That's why I'm doing this tonight. For you, Collin, because you are 10 years old. I'm sharing this with you tonight so you can carry this forward into the future. A journal. Memories. Reflections on what's happening right now. Your time. My time. For the future. Because you're going to be around a lot longer than me. When I'm long and gone and my bones don't creak like the planks in the HMS Bounty or the Blue Nose anymore, you can tell everyone what it was like and what came before. Because you've only really lived during the worst of times. Where there are some of the best of times, but mostly it's the worst of times right now. And maybe at 10 years old, it's hard for you to even remember when the really bad stuff started. When the man in the White House today came down the escalator for the first time and said he was going to run for president. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. Celebrity. And again, I just trusted that this man and the people around him would work with the best interests of the United States, the free world in mind. But no, they have other ideas. That's the truth. Money. Different people around him are there for different reasons. He's there for money. And ego. First time around wasn't quite like this. This time around, I don't know, everything kind of went haywire. But even during his first go around, what happened? This is the pivotal moment. It really is. The pandemic. You were a lot younger at that time. For you, like half a lifetime ago. For me, it was like yesterday. I'm still living it. So are you. So are we all. Everything went crazy, stupid, dumb. the emergency plans that had always been in place for just such an event were thrown in the dustbin. For some reason, the system seemed to be hijacked. Bad decisions were made by our leaders, who, of course, because they're part of the system, are required to follow the lead of the other people around them, the experts who take orders from experts, who take orders from experts, who take orders from experts. And people got locked down. It made no sense to me. But people were scared. And people don't think straight when they're scared. Fear was off the charts. I remember. I don't think it's stopped. It's just that we've moved on to other kinds of fear. But back then it was all, don't go out. If you go over there, don't touch things. If you take something off the shelf at the grocery store, you can't put it back. Because it could be contaminated. You could make somebody sick. Oh, and you have to walk this way down this aisle and follow those arrows. Otherwise, somebody could get sick. And I remember I was like, what the hell are you talking about? And I'm walking around. It was like the world had gone mad. I don't know why I was among the people who were like, what is wrong with everybody? But they were all losing their minds. Fear. I'd go to the store. No mask. And then I'd be walking, and people were like, they're so angry. And if I was walking the wrong way against the arrows, and that happened, they'd shout at you. People went insane. I'm not sure they've stopped being insane, Collin. There's something. It showed me that as far as we seem to have come as a society, people still failed the test. What test am I talking about? The test that comes around every once in a while during times of disruption, where you want to take other people's rights away to make yourself feel safer, where people willingly give up their freedom for what they perceive as safety. It was the absolute worst of times. I was beside myself. I still am. But I see things with, I think, more clarity now than I did then. I think a lot of people have just pushed it to the back. They've forgotten about it. But it was the pivotal moment. And here's some truth for you. I think this is truth. You can choose to accept this and believe this, or question it, and you should question it before you accept what I'm about to tell you. But I have come to the realization that all of this comes from the man in the White House. I don't want you to hate him. That's not what I'm getting at. I'm just saying, you want to know why things are the way they are? It's all right there. There's a psychological game being played, a psyop, and he's at the center of it. He has some strange ability to manipulate people. It's in his words and his demeanor. It's in the simplistic language. And it's not accidental. It's intentional. And it's powerful. I know it's him because he was in the White House when the pandemic started. People kind of forget about that. He could have insisted with the stroke of a pen. Executive order. There shall be no lockdowns. Could have done it, but he didn't. He could have, with the stroke of a pen, executive order. People's rights will be honored. Mandates are illegal for this or that, blah, blah, blah. He could have done that, And if he had, things in Canada would have been different too, because we always follow in lockstep on matters such as that, matters of that level of significance. We generally follow the U.S. lead for a whole bunch of reasons, mostly because they're our biggest trading partner, because we have so much cross-border traffic, because we're joined at the hip politically, culturally, historically. Everything about our countries, even our power grid, is shared. Everything. So of course we're going to be in lockstep. But they're the bigger of the two. The president sets the tone. He sets the bar. And he set the bar by doing nothing. Except scare the hell out of people, along with everybody else around him. And at the state level, and then you got the fracturing, and there was some pushback and so on. But what did he actually do? He never did a damn thing. And he left it up to the states, and he passed the buck, and he downloaded the responsibility onto other levels of government, and so that he could always like deflect, and the people made excuses for him. And that incident, that pandemic, that was the key to it all. It undermined confidence in our institutions because he allowed the institutions to abuse us. Yea, I would suggest to you that he facilitated it. Because he's not about freedom. He's never been about freedom. He's not a Republican. He's a MAGA. He's an authoritarian. He's a self-admitted now fascist, which I had extreme difficulty seeing and believing. Rejected it like so many others for so long, saying, come on, no way. The President of the United States, a fascist? No. All these allegations against him. Oh, stop attacking poor President Trump. And he's always the victim, the most powerful man in the world. The best of times and the worst of times. Contradictory. How does he do it? He's like made of Teflon. I could stand out in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot someone, and these people would still support me. People laugh. You know what he's really saying? What he was really saying there? You're all stupid. All my followers are a bunch of idiots. I could murder someone, and they'd still follow me. But the way he says it, people supported it. And I didn't even think of it like that at the time. 2 nights ago, he stands up, gives a speech, finally after a month of war, to tell the American people and the world what he's actually supposed to be doing over there in Iran. And then Collin, what does he do? He stands up there and in a prepared speech says contradictory things. We're very close to ending the war, but it's going to continue for another 3 weeks or so. We have ongoing negotiations, but we're going to bomb them back into the Stone Age. 1 minute, and that's been the case all through this war in Iran, which just highlights for me even more and reinforces my view that he is very likely not working in the best interests of the United States, of the country, of the people. because he's still screwing with people's minds. Why does he say these contradictory things? It's some psychological game he's playing, and it's not just him. That speech he delivered the other night, he's delivering those contradictory statements intentionally because that's a prepared speech, which was written for him. I'm going to repeat that. That's a prepared speech written for him. He's not ad-libbing. Oh, he always goes off the prompter. No, that was a prepared speech that he read, full of contradictions. Well, why? Because people want to hear and will what they want to hear. They will reject what they don't want to hear and take from it what they want. It's a mind game. So he's throwing information out there, and he's doing it in such a way that you can, if you're a supporter of Donald Trump and his political movement, you'll pull from that what you want and ignore the other part. Oh, this is the part I believe, and that's the part where he just went a little bit off script and it was just kind of didn't make any sense. That's what he really means. And on the other side, the people, wait a minute, he really means that, but that part over there I'm going to ignore. It's a mind game. He's screwing with our heads. It's a strange MAGA Jedi mind trick thing. He's been doing it all along. Wow, does it work? Just remember, everything I tell you is a lie. And I'm telling you the truth right now. See? Donald Trump. What do you believe? You know, there's that old saying from the former director of the FBI, or CIA, sorry, who said, once, I'm paraphrasing, I'm not getting it quite right. Once people no longer know what's real, then our job will be done. You want to know how screwed up all that is, Collin? It's not even clear if he actually said that. And yet people quote it all the time. You go look it up. I don't think he ever actually said the words. We don't even know if that's true. And that was from a long time ago, and things are way worse now. A friend of mine, trucker, attacked somebody involved in the convoy response to the big pandemic, right? I'm sure you've heard about the convoy, the sacred convoy. There were some good things that came out of the convoy, making it, in some ways, the best of times because it showed the true spirit of Canadians, and yet it was also the worst of times because it was so dark at the time, brought out a lot of the worst in some people, and there were people also, Collin, at the center of that whole thing who are not there, trying to save Canada, trying to tear it down. But a friend of mine was attacked just this past week online. I took note of it. Talked to this person, not going to say the name. But it just highlights what I'm talking about here tonight because this person under kind of a vicious attack. But when I started digging into it, the social media account that was attacking, it's a ghost account. Part of a network of sort of fake accounts insofar as none of the people running these things, and some of them are automated, none of them use real names. all of them, highly critical of our government, highly critical of our country, all of them designed to tear everything down. Now, some of these accounts I know are there because they're run by foreign governments, and they are there to destroy the country because they want the country destroyed. Others are echoing what's happening with these fake accounts and the fake messaging, the propaganda, echoing all of that because they've been convinced that the way to save the country is to destroy it. And one of the people targeted this past week was my friend, who wanted to fight back in some way. And through conversation, research, digging in, I realized what my friend was really up against. And I said, don't do it. You're shadow boxing, and you can't punch a ghost back. Like, you can't punch back against a ghost. This is not even a real person. You don't know who or what you're even dealing with. Just walk away. That's what's going on inside the Matrix. And it's driving people insane. And I've seen that same social media account, fake person, quoted in media articles. My research found this fake account quoted in media articles. The quotes from the social media account used to provide credibility or boost credibility of stories and narratives within a media outlet that also has kind of turned kind of anti-Canadian. The people referring to the stories are relying on the stories as being credible, real, and they're using completely fake entities for quotes to support the narrative and the stories that they're telling. The names are being withheld at the moment to protect the victims. But it's happening. And these things have been documented, not just by me. It's been happening on both sides of the political spectrum. A lot. I stand in opposition to that. I'm in the minority. This channel doesn't prosper. This channel doesn't generate the kinds of clicks that accounts like that do, because those accounts get amplified because they're extreme. The algorithms, Collin, are screwing with us. When you're inside this matrix, this internet, you're being manipulated every step of the way, one way or another. You think you have free will, you have choice to some degree. Yes, you could turn it off, you could click on this or click on that, but what choices do you really have when every choice you're being presented with is presented to you? Curated content, selected material for you. You can click on door number 1 or door number 2, but you're going to get the same thing behind either one. They just put in 1 in front of one and 2 in front of the other one, but whichever one you click on, you get the same result. Maybe just with somebody different telling you the same thing. That damn pandemic. Damn pandemic. People haven't been the same since. It's bad. It's still going on. Especially since he came back. Things seem to be getting kind of better, and then he came back. And I didn't realize, even at that point, I still couldn't believe it. because I had taken it all for granted, Collin. That's why I'm here tonight. Because I took it for granted. We all took it for granted. You got to remember this stuff for everybody, for the future. Because the victors of the war get to write the history. And I don't know where it's going. But I share all this with you tonight so you can take this forward. It's one of my gifts, if you choose to accept it. It's so sad. It's been depressing as hell. And it's still going on. They just keep, the people who want to tear it down, they just keep on moving to different issues. You know how I know they're not genuine? Because they don't even talk really that much about our rights being violated because of the pandemic. They've kind of just moved on, and it's the next issue, and it's the next issue, and it's the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, because they don't stop. Because they weren't really focused on that to begin with. They really didn't give a damn, a lot of these people. Even back then. They didn't really care, because they'd been at it before. They just weren't able to latch on to anything with that kind of oomph to give it the traction they wanted. The pandemic came along. That was the opportunity. That's what gave them the chance that they had wanted for so long to tear it all down. And that convoy, they were there to tear it all down. I didn't want to tear it all down. I wanted to fix the problems. But I see the value in what we have because, Collin, freedom is not normal. It's an aberration. And it's a beautiful thing. It's more normal for human beings to oppress each other. We've never had this in history before what we have now. We've never had this level of freedom, such as it is right now. Certainly when I was growing up, we didn't have that level of freedom. We have never had this level of even prosperity, as much as people whine and complain and bitch and moan. We've never lived so long. We've never been so well fed. We've never had such good health care, ever, in terms of quantity and certainly quality. But the people who want to take it from us want you to lose faith. Not so much faith, but trust in that. You don't have to have faith in a lot of these things because we have systems in place to make sure that you are protected. Because there are rules for the way things like healthcare are administered. A lot of those rules went right out the window with Mr. Trump. Operation Warp Speed. Don't worry about testing all those things that go in the arm. We'll just get rid of all those regulations, all those rules, all those safety protocols, and just, here. I'll just sign off on it. Operation Warp Speed. Get it to market, boys, as quickly as possible. Now, was it as bad as people are saying, and mass genocide, blah, 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 blah? No. There's some truth for you, too, that a lot of you are going to have a little trouble swallowing tonight. It's not that bad. Side effects, yes. Problems for some people, to be expected. Mass genocide? Extreme. Sorry. I keep seeing the lies about that too. And a lot of that's just lies. Because the fear continues. Oh, but I wasn't scared. I wasn't one of those people. I wasn't those sheeples. Are you sure? Are you sure that maybe we weren't just herded into two groups of sheeples fighting with each other? Yeah. And it continues. But you have a choice. You can choose to believe this or choose to believe that, and you are what you believe. Maybe I'm wrong. Don't take my word for it. I'm trying to get you closer to the truth. I'm sharing my experiences, my reality, my, my attempt to provide some degree of objectivity here for you, Collin. You deserve that. That's why I signed on to be a journalist so long ago. Committed to it from the time I was a kid. I've told people when I was in high school, grade 9, on my binder, big letters, block letters, individualism. I don't know why I was like so hung up on it, man, but it mattered to me. It still does. I wrote it on, that was what was on my binders. I write it and stylize it. Freedom. What are you going to be when you grow up? I wasn't sure, but everything I did channeled me, pushed me toward journalism. And ultimately, that was the decision I made as a very young person. Going down to that used bookstore in London, Ontario all the time. Learning there. I probably learned more from that old used bookstore than I did from a lot of the things I went to school for. So much of it all focused on freedom. Individual choice. But you don't really have choice if somebody lies to you and they suck you down into a deep, dark rabbit hole where you believe a lie. You don't really have freedom, Collin, if, like a few people that I've encountered along the way, choose to live a lie, knowing that they're one thing and pretending to be something completely different. Like, say, a friend of mine who is gay. But in order to fit in with the freedom fighters and the Christian right people that this guy hangs around with, he has to hide that, deny who he really is, and say nasty things about gay people. How do you think that affects my friend who's gay when he's saying such nasty, terrible things about gay people when he's gay himself? I'm seeing this to me. I'm not gay. If I was, I'd tell you. I'm not gay, okay? But it doesn't matter. If I were gay, I'd just come right out and tell you. And I wish my friend would too. But he's been living a lie all his life. A choice. Self-enslavement. Or maybe induced, coerced, forced, in order for him to fit in. So I get that too. That's not freedom. That's not freedom. And the people who force him to be like that, or insist, or will only accept him if he is like that, they're not about freedom. They might say they are, but they're not. The thing about freedom, too, is that you have to, Collin, you have to put up with a lot of crap that you don't like, that you maybe don't agree with. And so I can also respect people when they say, I believe homosexuality is a sin. Okay. Cool with me. But leave that guy alone, okay? Don't go over there and beat him up. But I don't like... Well, now, if you go over there and beat him up, then I'm going to have to defend that guy. I'm going to have to stand in your way. Because you don't have the right to beat up somebody just because they live a different kind of life than you. And why the hell do you care? It's like the NDP convention, back to your times, okay? What was it, about a week ago? All right. I watched that. I'm kind of like, I don't get it. Intersectionality cards and who gets to speak. And, okay, these are all their rules. And I'm like, I don't get it. I don't want that. How about everybody just get in line and speak one at a time? How about that? No, they're all fighting over it. But I'm kind of like, okay, but I didn't go to the convention and I didn't watch it and I don't really care. So another friend of mine, who shall remain nameless, you would probably all know the person, sends me the message and he says, did you see that? And it's all like, he's all upset. And I'm like, okay, you're upset. Why? And this is actually somebody from the States. I'm like, why are you upset? I didn't even respond to the email because I just thought, first of all, you don't live in our country. Secondly, you're being fed this information by, certain media outlets that are using it for political purposes. Third, this party doesn't even have official party status. They're not coming to power. They certainly have some influence, I guess, over our society, but they're there all the time anyway. And you can pretend that you can try to get rid of this, but you're not really getting rid of it. It's always been there. It's just been pushed under the surface. Maybe that makes you feel better, but that isn't freedom either, is it? It's like, and I'm kind of, so my thought is just, why do I want to give it oxygen? Like, I don't care. Like, we will cover stuff like that here from time to time, but I didn't focus on it because in the end, it just doesn't matter unless you make it matter. If you want to get upset about it, then you can get upset about it. Or you could just look at it, shrug your shoulders, and go about your day. Why would my friend so upset about it? Doesn't even live in Canada. And he said, look, so what's wrong with your country? They're not in power, man. Like, I know that this, just whatever. I'm not going to get that upset about it. Or you want to fight about it, go out in the streets, you can protest and, get your baseball bats and beat each other over the heads. Go ahead. You're free to do that until you cross the line, then the cops can take you all to jail. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to the fight. But please don't beat each other up because then I'm going to have to stand in the middle and then I'm going to get to, yeah. You'll have to wrestle with this stuff growing up, Collin. More so than you're probably having to deal with it now. Because things are getting worse in that way. Because people who claim to be freedom fighters, a lot of them don't realize that real freedom means putting up with crap you don't like. Real democracy means compromise. Real democracy means sometimes you get elected and sometimes you don't. And when you don't, you come back and you try to get reelected the next time. That way we don't have to go to war. But these people don't want that, a lot of them. They want to tear everything down, and then they just want what they want, and they want to oppress others because they want an authoritarian government. That's why they want to tear it all down. Or they want to become the 51st state, which is well on its way to becoming that with the guy in the White House right now. That's where we're at right now. That's where we're at right now, Collin. It's crazy town out there. War in Ukraine, just absolute propaganda. I was buying some of it till I caught somebody on this program lying about war crimes not committed by Ukraine. No, I realized that that person had been lying. I haven't had them back on the program since because they were pushing a lie to cover up a war crime committed against the people of Ukraine. And he did it on my program. And I'm ashamed of that. And so I worked, when I realized what had happened, I went to work to set it right. I'm not saying Russia's right about everything or wrong about everything. I'm not saying either side is right or wrong about everything. Shades of gray all the time. But you're trying to cover up a war crime, my friend. So I haven't had you back. No. See, free speech comes with great responsibility as well. And I would not serve any of you out there well if I didn't. If I would just let someone who lied to cover up for war crimes, murder, what kind of person would that make me? I would be complicit. It haunts me, even though I've taken steps to make amends. And I've been hammered for it, criticized, attacked by people who have just swallowed one of the pills, the red pill or the blue pill. It tortures my soul. I'm just sitting here every night trying to do the right thing, and that's why I'm doing this for you tonight, Collin. It's a gift if you choose it. It's a choice. Right now, I'd say we are in a matrix. We're certainly in a matrix because we're in the internet, and that is the matrix. A matrix. And I've seen videos sent to me just in the last day or two. I saw a woman at a podium somewhere in Europe, I think, talking about just the whole narrative about us all being in a matrix. And I'm listening to her. Full house. Massive number of views. The speech continues. And it was a mind game again, which I've come to realize. Telling us, first of all, that our governments can't be trusted. They're all woke. They all have us trapped in a matrix where they're controlling us all, these elite people, and the narrative continues. And by the time they get to the end, they talk about us all being basically uploaded into the matrix as transhumans. And then there's this, for her, it was then a quick jump to transgender. And then it became an attack on transgender people that she then portrayed as being the link from human beings to transhumanism, where we're all going to be uploaded into this matrix, and we have to stop that. Therefore, we have to stop the transgender people, which is, I'm like, wait a minute. They're not digitized. They're biological. Like, it was a way to you see, Collin, that's a trick that they use. You don't have to agree with the transgender lifestyle. You don't have to have anything to do with it. But when one group of people doesn't like another group of people, and they want to stop the other group of people from living the way that they live or being what they are, and they want to oppress them, then one of the things they do is they dehumanize the other group of people. And so that narrative was all designed to dehumanize transgender people. And point a finger and say it's their fault, they're to blame for everything. All we have to do is get rid of them, and all our problems are solved. All the wokeism that we don't like will be gone. No, it won't. And then they conflate that with socialism. And people, uneducated largely, average reading level out there is only grade 6, folks, just to let you know. Okay? So it's kind of easy for some of these people to play these games, but even some of the most intelligent people that I know are susceptible to these mind games, including myself, where I have fallen prey to lies, misdirection, and even prejudice. You dehumanize people, and then they're not human anymore. And then you can do whatever the hell you want to them because they're not human. Therefore, they don't really have rights like us. And if we want our freedom, all we have to do is get rid of those creatures over there, those vermin, or whatever word you want to apply ultimately. It's the oldest trick in the book, being used to great effect today. Beware. It's not about saying you have to like something or even agree with it. You can be opposed to it. But there's a line. There's a limit. Not for Donald Trump, who says he can do whatever he wants with Cuba. Not for Donald Trump, who says he's not a king, but clearly has said that he can rule the world, or thought he could, till the last few days. Not for the people around him, who are using him to get what they want, and that ain't democracy. See, the thing is, the people who are pushing to destroy everything and tear it down, you know why they're doing it? Here's the truth. They don't have the support. They're doing it because they can't get elected, largely. Or when they do get elected, they have to cheat. And lie. Or deceive, or manipulate. Screw with your head. Because they can't be honest about it. Too many politicians do that. And I know that on the other side, we had big problems too. But democracy is still there. The system is there. That's what they want to take from you. And you can't let them do it. Or you're giving up your freedom. But that's a choice. The system is what we have. The system is what protects us. More than the president, more than the prime minister. They're just people. More than that, you have you. You have you. An individual. Your individualism. I cherish that. That is my freedom. No matter what they do to me, what they try to do to us, what they try to implement, no matter what they do, I still have the freedom to think what I think. I don't even have to say it out loud. I still have the freedom to turn left or turn right. And even if they put me in a cage, I can still find freedom here in my attitude, in what I believe. If I close my eyes and believe that I'm walking on a beach, I'm walking on a beach. Even if I'm only dreaming it in my sleep, for that moment, I'm walking on a beach. But I choose that. Now I know that being locked in a cage is also reality, and you have to deal with that. But you get my point. And I don't want anyone locked in a cage. That's why I'm committed to being me. And during the pandemic, I didn't get the jabberoonie. One of the reasons I didn't get it was because I thought if I do that, that will just make it that much easier for them to force somebody else to do it. I'm not doing it. Because the mandates are wrong. And because I didn't think the thing had been tested thoroughly. My choice. And the choice was there. But for some people, of course, you're being coerced. Because if you don't do this, you can't get that job, or you're going to lose your job. That happened to a lot of people. That was absolutely freaking wrong. But the people who say they're trying to save the country now don't talk about that the way they used to. Now they talk about birds, or they talk about, I don't know, pick your issue, transgender people, who they claimed to be defending during the convoy, or they talk about deporting all kinds of different people they said they were defending during the convoy, but now they don't like them. Disingenuous. A lot of good people did go to that, though. A lot of good people still out there. Mostly, I think. Most people just trying to live their lives. A lot of scared people, though. A lot of scared people. I'm not afraid. I wasn't afraid during the pandemic either. Not afraid. I mean, worried, concerned, still worried and concerned. That hasn't changed at all. I'm still sitting in this chair. Back in the pandemic, during the convoy, I said, how can I best serve? What can I do for my country? What can I do for my fellow Canadians and for the world? What can I do? Well, I'll do what I do best. I'll go back to journalism. That's what I've been doing ever since. Again. I'm old, man. I'm old, Collin. I was like, I never planned to be here. And I'm here I am, I'm back. I'm doing this. Tonight I'm doing it for you. I'm doing it for everybody. I'm speaking to everyone by speaking to you. It's not over. It's still just beginning. You're going to see a lot of, I think, terrible things happen over the next few years. It will be the worst of times. These wars, I think they're just going to escalate and get worse. This one in Iran. This is the stupidest war, I think, ever. I mean, Vietnam still tops it, I guess, but it's still early. Like, I just haven't seen this much stupidity surrounding a war in my lifetime, and I just, I hope I'm wrong. I'm so grateful to everybody here through all this craziness. And sometimes I think it may seem like I've gone off the rails as I've tried to actually defend people and protect everybody here in our community and protect the country when I've seen people get involved in things that were harmful, destructive, as I've seen them try to tear the country down. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not what we're supposed to be doing here. And then I get attacked, and I'm like, why the hell? Why? Because they don't love the country. They don't love freedom. Opposite. And sometimes they do, but they've been duped, brainwashed, thinking that the only way to save the country is to destroy the country. You can't have what you burn to the ground. But they're gonna Tear it all down so they can build back better. Yeah, idiot, you're tearing it down for them. Stop. Stop burning stuff. Let's fix it. No, you're not a freedom fighter. You know what? I've decided I'm not. Phil Primo highlighted something that I'd thought about myself. Phil Primo, Collin, is a gentleman who's been on the program a few times. And he said something a couple months back. And I thought of it myself, but he highlighted it. Freedom fighter. There's an oxymoron. What? Like, freedom fighter? You're fighting against freedom. Like, how does that make any sense? That's a phrase that has been used by communists, fascists, just about every political organization and group at one time or another. The Democrats used it during the last election, presidential election. They had freedom signs all over the place. Well, at the same time, they say they're fighting for freedom over on the MAGA side. Well, which one's which? I thought everybody's fighting for freedom, and then you see communists, and they're all freedom fighters. Communists. Depends on your concept of freedom, I guess. But I'm not a freedom fighter. No, I've wrestled with it for a while, and I've come up with this, Collin. Henceforth, I am a freedom defender. A freedom defender. I'm a journalist. Pen, keyboard, microphone, words, journalism, pursuit of truth, cornerstone of democracy, foundational to freedom. Over the past 3-4 weeks, I've had Mavericks in our community coming to me without really them even realizing what they were doing. Sharing thoughts, sharing ideas, bouncing things off me. 2 people in particular who've had major positive impact on me over the past 3 weeks. Stoic teacher, email exchanges, a little bit of an, seeing what's going on in the chat, me at times speaking in ways that I think Stoic teacher interpreted as messages directly to her, which in a way they were, but also for everyone, speaking to everyone, but also one person, without anybody even realizing I was doing it. But so helpful. And by challenging me at times, but also by sharing, just by sharing thoughts. And this is going to come back to you, Collin. And the other person, number 2, Sandy Sunshine. I had somebody say to me, I don't know what you see in Sandy. What do you talk to Sandy for? Well, Sandy phones me. I pick up the phone. We talk sometimes. And I enjoy the conversations. Because Sandy brings wisdom. Unexpected wisdom to me, which I value. And sometimes we just talk about whatever she wants to talk about. Sometimes we talk about pop culture. And about 3 weeks ago, I don't know how it came up, but we started talking about that Ringo Starr song, Shaving Cream. Collin, I can't play it because it's copyrighted, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to look up the lyrics to this. It was a terrible song, as far as I was concerned, but because it was Ringo Starr, who, if you don't know, was the drummer for the Beatles. I'm going to look up the lyrics here for Shaving Cream. It was the dumbest, stupid, dumb song ever. But it was fun. We started talking about this. Here are the original lyrics. I have a sad story to tell you. It may hurt your feelings a bit. Last night when I walked into my bathroom, I stepped in a big pile of shaving cream. Be nice and clean. Shave every day and you'll always look keen. I think I'll break off with my girlfriend. Her antics are queer. I'll admit, each time I say, darling, I love you, she tells me that I'm full of shaving cream. Be nice and clean. Shave every day and you'll always look keen. I'm not singing it. I'm kind of half singing it. Our baby fell out of the window. You'd think that her head would be split. But good luck was with her that morning. She fell in a barrel of... And then this would play on the radio. And because, of course, it was a cleaner period of time back in the 1970s, shaving cream. Be nice and clean. Shave every day and you'll always look keen. I went for a ride in the country to see what the farmers did get, but all I could see were the chickens a-picking at piles of shaving cream. Be nice and clean. Shave every day and you'll always look keen. I guess there are some other additional verses to the song you can use too. But of course, right before you say the swear word, which you can insert for yourself if you so choose, along comes the word shaving cream to keep it clean. Sandy was laughing about it with me. And she said, well, I said, you know what, Sandy? We should write our own version of shaving cream. A song using that as the inspiration. So I said, you send me some suggestions for lyrics. And I'll work on it, and I'll put the song together. And so she did. She sent me a bunch of different lyrics. So I kind of distilled them, and my Stoic teacher friend my friend from afar, will know what I'm talking about when I say distilled. I distilled those lyrics down, and then I took inspiration from other Mavericks, especially Stoic teacher, who over the past couple of weeks has been engaged in some pretty deep conversations with me through email. And as I was finishing all of this, after 3 weeks, this song, Collin, your grandma said to me the night before, I guess it was last night, that you noticed on one of the transitions or promos that we run here, where it says the world is watching, the narrator says the world is washing. Washing. I was like, what are you talking about? No, it's true. And so your grandma listened, and I think just like Donald Trump conveying duality in messaging and conflicting messaging, people tend to hear what they want to hear. And so, and there's psychological research that goes into that too. So if you've decided that it's washing, it will become washing, you see. If you think that you're hearing watching and believe that it's watching, which is what I wrote, when it says the world is watching in the promo, you think it's the person saying washing. And because you've suggested that now to your grandma, she's hearing washing. And so I'm sure that you believe that that's what it is. And to you, that's actually your reality with that promo. when in fact it's written watching, the narrator said watching, but has a Welsh accent. And so it may come off sounding but a little bit maybe like washing, and if you've decided that's what it is, then that's your reality, and you can choose to have that if you want. So I built that into the song. I tweaked that right at the last minute, and I made some adjustments in the final production. And I finished it up overnight. I stayed up real late to finish up this song, because the song is full of deeper meaning. It's inspiration. It's written with the inspiration and suggestions of not just Sandy Sunshine, but everybody here in one way or another, and especially Sandy and Stoic Teacher. And because of what I've been seeing online, and because of what your grandma sends me. Media clips. She sent me that clip of that woman at the podium talking about us being trapped in the Matrix already. And then I thought, I've been thinking about my friend who is gay and is living this lie. And how people in general, I think, prefer quite often to live in misery. They choose negativity. Maybe because then they don't have to accept any personal responsibility, and it gives them something to complain about. It's harder to be happy, in a way, because you are responsible for it. If the time comes to get Neuralinked into the Matrix, I fear. I'm not afraid, but I fear. I'm concerned that a lot of people will say, yeah, jack me in. Why? Because it's easy. Because they don't have to face truth anymore. They don't even have to be real anymore. They can give up their freedom for the illusion of freedom, the illusion of security. They can give it all up. They can give up truth for ignorance. For bliss. The thing about these people saying that we already live in a matrix, where we're controlled by an evil cabal, I have to reject that as an individualist. Because Collin, if you have somebody telling you that you already live in a matrix that is controlled by the elite or anybody, then you're already trapped in the matrix. And you don't stand a chance. You've already given yourself up. If you accept that, then you don't have any freedom. You don't have any choice. You don't have anything. You don't have yourself. You don't exist. You're already in the matrix if you listen to those people. Why would they do that? Why would they try to convince us that we are already in a matrix controlled by an evil cabal at the top? Because as they tell you that, you don't even realize that they're telling you that. They think that they're being warned. So they can resist. So that they don't get sucked into the Neuralink matrix transition to become a transhuman. But the reality is, As soon as you believe that you are in the matrix being controlled by a bunch of elites, they've already got you in their matrix. And you walked in voluntarily, thinking you're going in there to fight, to preserve your freedom. Double meaning, sophisticated psyop. Undermining your trust in everything that gives us freedom. Everything that was defended back in 1949, 77 years ago today. Philosophy. Ideology. It's new. It's in opposition to liberal democracies, Collin. There's a new thing out there that people don't realize we're fighting, or that is consuming us, or that has found its way into the White House. It's something I've been calling for a long time fascio-communism, or communo-fascism. It's a new ideology. There are different names for it. I won't share them with you here tonight. Just be aware that it's authoritarianism, and what it really is it is the convergence of communism and fascism, bringing them together, even though we've always been taught that they are at opposite ends of the political spectrum. These forces have come together, expressing this movement toward authoritarianism through, in some cases, populist political movements. But it's the convergence of communism and fascism brought together through the frustration of not being able to defeat liberal democracy, freedom, the systems that have given us freedom. With all of its warts and all of its problems and all of the shit that we have to put up with in order to have liberty. It's messy. And yet we even have to put up with the people who are trying to take it away from us because we believe in freedom. I know you're only 10. It's hard to figure that out. I just thought, you're growing up fast. Maybe you'll understand some of this stuff tonight. I hope you can take it with you. And this will be archived online. It's on the internet forever. Until someone decides to wash it away in the future. But if that happens, I hope you remember tonight. This song, all about living the lie. That's the name of the song. I'm going to read the lyrics first because I think they're important. This is a gift for you, Collin, from myself and all of the Mavericks tonight, in one way or another, who knowingly or unknowingly contributed through inspiration to the creation of this. I'm going to read the lyrics. Shall I bring them up on the screen? Let's do that. There they are. Welcome to the Matrix, baby. Scrolling all night, chasing the high. Everything's fake. Psychedelic sky. They say you're free, that's the game. Different screen, always the same. You are what you believe, that's the key. Thank you, Stoic teacher. Not for telling me that, but for guiding me there. Lock your mind, lose reality. If you believe it, it comes alive. Truth gets buried, nobody survives. The world is watching. But here's Sandy, and this is for you, Collin. Brains are washing. Okay? Live in the lie, glazed over eyes, hypnotized, zombified. Live in the lie, no way to hide, truth denied. Oh, here's an important part. Switch it off. Take back your mind. Live in the lie. Same old story, louder now. Truth gets lost inside the crowd. Bias confirmation. You want to be accepted. You don't want to be cast out. It's easier to just go along and get along. It's hard to stand for truth, especially when others, like sheeple, are herded away. Think you're awake, it's in your head. Different cage, dream is dead. Yeah, I was thinking about the dream, the American dream, the Canadian dream. It's still out there, but in the Matrix, it's certainly dead. And they're trying to take it away from you. The world is watching, brains are washing. They are trying to brainwash us. And I'd say they've been doing a real good job. I'm trying to wash all that away. Live in the lie, glazed over eyes, hypnotized, zombified. Live in the lie, no way to hide, truth denied. Switch it off, take back your mind. Live in the lie. Break it down, shut it out. Turn it off right now. Break the screen, cut the feed. Take back what you need. I'd say go out and hug a tree. You want the Matrix? The real Matrix is right outside. That is a matrix. Nature's matrix, God's matrix if you choose. The most complex matrix of all. The matrix of life. Not some synthetic reality that isn't reality at all. Live in the lie. Too tired to fight? Wake up now. Take it back tonight, Collin. Carry it forward. Live in the lie. Live in the lie. No more. Exit the matrix. Exit the matrix. Okay. Tonight, Collin, that is, in addition to this entire program being dedicated, devoted to you, that is a gift, and so too is this song. Because, you know, when I was young, when I was 10 years old, I had so much coming up that I wasn't even aware of. Star Wars 2 years later. Incredible music. Like shaving cream. Disco. This song. I thought I better blend, you know, to give it the right feel. Some futuristic things and some retro things, because the lyrics, as I wrote them over the last 3 weeks, deal with the past, the present, the future. And now you. And so as much as it's a gift to you, it's a gift to all the Mavericks. It's a gift to ourselves. It's a gift to the world for anybody that chooses to accept it. And it's up to you. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to believe a word I said tonight. You don't have to accept this. You don't have to believe anything I told you. You're free to believe or not to believe. Just remember, though, that whatever you choose to believe becomes your reality. But the only way to true freedom is to believe in things that are true. Because if you believe a lie, you're enslaved. Don't choose the red pill. Don't choose the blue pill. Choose you. Here we go. Living the lie. Choose wisely. More tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the flip side.
Welcome to the Matrix. Chasing the high, everything's fake, psychedelic sky. They said you're free, that's the game. Different screen, always the same. You are what you believe, that's the key. Lock your mind, lose reality. If you believe it, it comes alive. Truth gets buried, nobody survives. The world is watching, brains are washing. Living the lie, glazed over eyes, hypnotized. Living the lie, no way to hide, truth denied. Switch it off, take back your mind. Living the lie. Same old story, louder now. Truth gets lost inside the crowd. Think you're awake, it's in your head. Different cage, dream is dead. The world is watching, brains are washing. Living the lie, glazed over eyes, hypnotized, zombified. Living the lie, no way to hide, truth denied. Switch it off, take back your mind. Living the break it down, shut it out, turn it off right now. Break the screen, cut the fade, take back what you need. Living the lie, glazed over eyes, hypnotized, zombified. Living the lie, too tired to fight, wake up now, take it back tonight. Living the lie. Living the lie. No more. Exit the Matrix.
Happy birthday, Collin.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.